So I started in the business in 1997 as a young military dependent with very little experience. My first day at a dealership, I was actually updating a Rolodex. From that point on, I've made it a goal to learn a little more every day. And over time, that gave me a different lens on the business. Moving between the departments, I started to see how decisions in one area would show up somewhere else. Sometimes those decisions would help, sometimes they would create friction. And I've learned to pay attention to that because when one department creates friction for another, you have to ask, is it worth it? And does everyone actually understand the end goal? And how that segues into what I'm doing now, I would say it helps quite a bit. It gives me the opportunity through Perspective Shift Automotive, which is the name of my organization. It's really about giving leaders the breathing room to see things differently. It's not prescriptive. It's really about stepping in, helping them to work through challenges, and then stepping back once that is, complete. And not everybody can afford a full-time role. So I'm a part-time solution. It usually shows up in the leading indicators well before it ever shows up in the measurables. I believe that the first sign is inconsistency. Small things that were once natural, they start to slip, and those inconsistencies, they highlight process erosion. Is this a knowing or a doing gap? The numbers, those are lagging indicators. Identifying it early is really the difference. Will it be a reset or a recovery? Based on some recent conversations with service managers, I'm hearing that core metrics are pretty solid where it comes to things like hours per RO, their retention, that's steady, but conquest has really become a real issue. And I think a lot of that is the affordability and the preconceived notion that it's more expensive to have your vehicle repaired at a dealership. And you really see that in Google campaigns as well, with the auction being so saturated with competitors. There's more opportunity that's there. It's just not always obvious. So busy and productive, those aren't the same thing in the service lane or in life. The question is what we're doing actually adding value? Profitability that comes from tightening the process, reducing redundancies, and making sure that the flow goes as it should. It starts with a solid interview with the guest. From there, the work has to be matched to the right technician. And if you don't, you start to create a bottleneck. And if you're putting entry-level work in front of your highest-paid people, well, that's a recipe for disaster. Once the technician identifies additional needs, the advisor has to feel confident enough to actually present it to the guest and work through those objections. That's where the difference is, not just being busy, but being intentional with the work. I actually always look at process. A lot of times what looks like a process issue is really a communication gap. Either expectations weren't clear or the impact of consistency wasn't fully understood. And because of that, the process not being clear, it's going to show up as a people problem, or it's going to get blamed on technology. I want to understand the work and how it's supposed to flow and then compare that to what's actually happening. That's easier if it's documented. Oftentimes in dealerships, processes are not documented. From there, it becomes clear pretty quickly. Is it a gap in the process? Is it a breakdown in execution? Or is it a tool that's not even being utilized the right way? So tools and vendors, they start to hurt when the purpose isn't clear to the team. In the dealership world, we're really great about bringing in the latest, greatest, the newest thing, and then we just start to layer things on top without our team actually understanding the real value. And if that friction, if it starts to outweigh the value, it's time to rethink how it fits into the process. Tools alone, those don't solve problems. They still depend on people, even with AI. It's meant to accelerate output, not replace thinking. You can have the brilliant tool, but if the team doesn't understand it, the value and how it fits, that's all going to fall flat. Employee turnover, that's a tough one. I think it's more comfortable for leaders to live in the gray and blame it on, the industry overall. But quite honestly, that's not where success is built. It's not just part of the business. One exercise that I implemented with the HR that was really a breakthrough was not only earmarking voluntary and involuntary terminations, but also avoidable and unavoidable. Those unavoidable might be something like medical issues, military relocation. That's not really where you found the nugget. When you focus on the avoidable side, those patterns, they start to show up, and so do the opportunities to fix them. You can also start to put some percentages on that and start to track year over year what your unavoidable and your avoidable were. And if your avoidable is going up, then maybe you need either a new process, new leadership, but it will definitely be easier to identify. And then I would say that forces a more honest question. Are we building a culture that retains people, or are we losing talent to things that we could address? I think for years we've been having the same conversation, video, right? Video, 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 but most dealerships still are not consistently using video. I believe that's a miss. In 2026, people expect transparency. Video, it puts a face to the recommendation. It breaks down the wall between the technician and the guest. It also gives you the opportunity to set the stage for future recommendations. In the event you have a service advisor that's not comfortable, it also guarantees that the guest is actually going to see the recommendation from the technician at least once. I think a lot of service managers need to find a way to say yes and to say it faster. Say yes faster. Time, it's a precious commodity, and the truth is, if the guest needs something, we're going to eventually figure out a way to get them what they need. But when it takes too long and it creates friction, frustration, and wasted energy on both sides, then that's no good. That opportunity is finding a way to say yes sooner, even if it's a modified yes, and because faster decisions create a better experience. So I referenced conquest as an issue for a lot of shops, and TVI actually has a way to address that conquest opportunity and to really tap into the market in a way that a lot of other organizations do not. I've seen firsthand through multiple organizations, and some the organization that I worked at, but others were peers within TVI's book of business, and they also had great success.